As you can see, Rocky is very stealthy. Look at him there, making his way through the weeds. Yeah, eh? Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Hey, you. Remember that? Hey, you. Rocky. What a good boy. Getting away from all your worries sure would help a lot. Hey. Oh, you're wonderful. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name. How you doing, my cat? He's been pretty busy today. I was away for part of the day, but I'm back now. And Rocky's outside enjoying the nice day. I don't think he goes out very much when I'm not here. I think he stays inside. I know he's worried about the hawk. I know that. There's a hawk that's flying over here all the time, keeping an eye on him. And I know he's concerned about that hawk. And I don't think he feels particularly safe when I'm not here, so. But right now I'm here, so we can come out and enjoy the beautiful day, hey? You can have a good wander around. Yeah, no worries. No worries, he can just have a good wander around. Yeah. Hey, you. You're a good boy. It's shady here, eh? It's a lot nicer here, being all shady. Yes, it is. Anyway, I gotta finish writing out my checks. I'm just watching a video here of an American fella who's visiting Ottawa and interviewing the people. And it's kind of a shameful thing, really, you know. As somebody who is a Canadian, at least by birth, it's embarrassing to me. The way people have bought the propaganda hook, line, and sinker. He's noticed how the CBC is completely devoted to hating Trump and blaming the United States for all our problems. And on the street, he's interviewing people, and most of them blame Trump for the state of our country. You know, and like I say, Trump, like I've said many times before, Trump did not do this to us. It's our own government that threw us under the bus, and has been doing so for decades. Canada has a globalist government. The globalist government, you know, no good ever comes of a globalist government. Anyway, I've had Canadian people ask me what's wrong with globalism, what's wrong with international cooperation. But that's not what globalism is. Globalism is not international cooperation. For example, if you and I are neighbors and we get along, we look out for each other, you know, we keep an eye on each other's property. If we see somebody doing something on the property and we don't think they should be there, we let each other know, or whatever, you know. We look out for each other, and maybe we even help each other at times. We help each other with chores, you know. If the neighbor needs some help getting some work done on his property, well, the other neighbor comes over and helps him, and vice versa. You know, maybe one neighbor's son buys his first car off the other neighbor, or whatever. So there's some trading back and forth. Or if one of the neighbors is sick, the other neighbor will bring some food over for them, you know, so that they can eat and not have to be making meals and stuff, you know, and stuff like that. Well, see, that's cooperation. That's getting along. That's being friends. That's a good thing. But that's not what globalism is. What globalism is one guy in the neighborhood, he comes and he takes over everything. And you're not allowed to do anything in the neighborhood without his permission. You don't own your house. He can put you out of your house anytime. You no longer own it. He owns it. You still pay all the taxes, and you're still responsible to maintain it and everything, but you no longer own it. If you want to put up a swing set in the backyard, you got to go ask him, you know. If you want to put up a shed in the backyard, you got to go ask him. You know, you're not allowed to do anything on your own property without the one neighbor's permission. And you're also not allowed to say anything about it. If you don't like a decision that neighbor made, you better not criticize him, or you'll be punished, you know. Or if you asked permission to do something and that neighbor said, no, I don't want you to do that, I don't give you permission to, you want to build a shed on your property, I don't think that's a good idea, permission denied, and you turn around and you say you think that's unreasonable or something, well, again, you'll be punished. You own nothing, and you'll pretend to be happy. They say you own nothing and you'll be happy, but that's not it. You own nothing and you will pretend to be happy, or else you will screw a smile on your face and you'll pretend to be 100% in agreement with that one individual who's running everything and who owns everything, or you will be punished. That's what globalism is. See, being a neighbor, being a good neighbor and cooperating, and, you know, people say, we hear that, Mr. So-and-so isn't doing very well. You know, I'll send my son over to shovel his driveway. Or Mrs. So-and-so's all laid up or whatever. We'll bake her a cake and a casserole and we'll take it over to her, you know, so she doesn't have to worry about preparing meals for a while. Or, you know, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so are going to be away for a month. You know, we'll keep an eye on their place, make sure nobody breaks into it or doesn't vandalizes it or steals anything off their property or whatever, you know. Maybe we'll come and pick up their mail and keep it for them until they get back so there isn't a bunch of mail piling up there and so on, you know. That's being a good neighbor. That's cooperating. That's a beautiful thing. We should do that. In fact, we should do more of it. That's something that's kind of lost these days. But that's not what globalism is. In fact, globalism will have one neighbor ratting the other neighbor out. You know, Mr. So-and-so was openly disagreeing with a decision that was passed down by the governing council the other day. Well, we'll have to report him for that. We can't have people going around openly disagreeing. You know, that's the atmosphere you'll get with globalism, and that's the difference. It is not international cooperation. International cooperation implies that everybody has autonomy and that everybody can cooperate or not, that they choose to cooperate with the other guy, but they don't choose to cut their own throat to do it. You know, that's all. Whereas globalism is, you know, one small group of people own everything and run everything in the world, and all the world's people are required to rally behind that one small group of people and to be dictated to by them and never to express any discontent about it. That's what globalism is. Anyway, so whenever people in Canada, and I've had several people say this to me, well, what's wrong with globalism? It's just international cooperation. No, that's not what it is. You know, it's not what globalism is. International cooperation implies that we have our autonomy, both individually and nationally, but that we do our best to get along with the other people, with the other countries. Globalism is you will own nothing and you will be happy and you will keep your mouth shut and you will not have an opinion, you know. And if you hear somebody expressing an opinion, that's a dangerous thing. You're to report them. and so on like that. Globalism turns a neighbor against the neighbor. Globalism makes your neighbor somebody you can't trust. That's no way to live. Anyway, that's it. I've said my piece on that. I feel really bad that things are the way they are here. It reminds me a lot of the mentality of an addicted person. I've known a lot of people who were addicted to various things, alcohol and drugs and everything over the years. And when they're in the grip of the addiction, they blame everybody. All their problems are somebody else's fault. You know, it's never them. They never did anything wrong. It's always the other guy. And sometimes it's the other guy just because he has what they don't have and they're jealous. Or it's the other guy because, you know, they wanted him to do something that they thought would improve their situation, and he didn't want to do that, and he wasn't required to do it, and he didn't have to do it, and they didn't owe it to them to do it, and he refused to do it. And so then he gets blamed for everything, you know. And that's kind of the Canadian mentality. We screwed everything up. We destroyed our own economy. We destroyed our own society, you know. Trump don't set economic policy for Canada as much as people like to say he does. Yes, he put tariffs on us, and that will affect our economic policy. But I mean, he hasn't been running anything in any countries or whatever. He hasn't had the power to put tariffs on us until very recently. And yet our economy is in the toilet. It was in the toilet the day he went into office the first time. When Trump got in office the first time, you know, for his first term, we were already on our way into the crapper. When he got in the second time, we were really in the crapper, and we were just floating there, you know, waiting to be flushed away. You know, Trump didn't cause that. That's our own government that caused that. It's our own people who caused it. That's the bottom line. And anyway, yeah, we blame, you know, and that's exactly what an addict would do, and that's always somebody else's fault. You know, if this person hadn't have done that, then this other thing wouldn't have happened. If this person would only be more like this, well, then I could cope better, and I wouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing, you know, destroying myself like I am. If this person would just do such and such for me, or just give me such and such, or just help me in such and such a way, well, then it'd be better, you know. Then I could do so much better if they would just do that for me, or whatever, you know. There's always, or this person did this, that, or the other thing, and that's the reason that I'm so screwed up. And until a person takes personal responsibility, they can't move forward, because they just wallow in hatred for whomever they're blaming. And see, that's what's happening in Canada. We're wallowing in hatred for the leader of a foreign country, and blaming him for everything, you know. And there's really very little we can blame him for. I mean, he wasn't in a position to do anything until recently, and yes, he's put tariffs against us. We've been tariffing the hell out of the United States for a long time, though. We have been, you know. So let's not kid ourselves here. It's not like Trump invented tariffs, and it's not like Trump was the first one to ever put tariffs in place against another country. It happens all the time. And like I say, we've done that to the United States. We have some really heavy tariffs against the United States. For example, in our dairy industry, we have seriously heavy tariffs. That's just one example. And so now the justification for that is we got to protect the integrity of our dairy industry. Okay, there may be truth in that. But the United States can say the same thing about different industries they're involved in, you know, that they have to protect the integrity of those industries. So it's an argument that can be used to justify us, and it's also an argument that can be used against us, you know. Anyway, that's it. There's Rocky. Isn't he cute? We'll see you later. Look at him.